Global namaste.
Global namaste.
Global namaste.
Namaste. Good evening from Hong Kong.
Good evening from Bali.
Good evening from India.
Yes. Good evening. Welcome on board. And I'm very proud to be part of this initiative that my friend and, partner, I would call her a partner because she's been in all the wellness initiatives. And today, to introduce myself, I'm the publisher of a wellness magazine. We publish a digital international publication called Luxury Wellness. We launched ourselves in 2018 at Italy in Cessna at the Global Wellness Summit. So as partners of the Global Wellness Summit, we are promoting all wellness, and I'm proud to be part of Dr. Rekha's initiative and wishing all the ambassadors the best. So let's begin. So John, tell me from what is happening, what do you think is a digital detox and how relevant is it in today's era? Can you tell me a little?
I was going to say ladies first, but
No.
but I can since I come first in the alphabet in Bali. So my name is John Nielsen. I'm the general manager of 5 Elements Retreat in Bali. I've been part of Dr. Rekha's journey for 12 months or a bit more. So digital detox, what does it mean? It's something that we should all be doing much more of. We have been engrossed, I think, with the phones on a daily basis. They are part of our business life, and I think that's sort of quite natural. The challenge with them is that they've now become too much part of our private lives and too much part of our family lives. And I think that progress, if you go back to 2014 or go back to 2013, when it really was starting out in many senses, that the phones was becoming more and more an important part of your life. We've now probably got to that point where we've hit the top of the mountain, and we really have to start at looking ways to turn off the phone and to actually walk away. And as we've seen in a country that I spent a lot of my life in Australia, they have now started instigating laws to prevent an age group of 16 years old to actually not go onto social media. And it probably makes a lot of sense, because we can't continue the way for our eyes, for one purpose, but also that it takes over our lives. And I think we see a lot of mental problems. We've seen, and that's what the reason why the Australian Parliament actually instigated the law, because there's been so much bullying at school with younger people. And so we start talking mental problems, we start talking health problems. So the can, if I can say that, the can has opened, and I think it's the test case. What the Albanese government has done is a very interesting test case, because it will really probably challenge a lot of the big social media companies. It will challenge a lot of people around the world. But I think it's very important what they've done to take that stance and to actually say, and it was interesting because it was a bipartisan decision. And even though there's a lot of people that question it and say it's been rushed through, it hasn't come into law, and that's important to understand. It hasn't come into practice yet. It does not come into before mid-25. But the key thing is that it's starting to set a tone for the rest of the world to follow. So that's why I think the rest of the world is really watching what will go on in Australia, what will go on in Canberra, and how the laws will be interacted. And I think they and Francesca, I'm sure you have some views on it, but I think it's something that is very strong, and I think it's a very good signal that's sending out, because we cannot, as humans, be taken over by phones. We have to start being able to separate these things, because we lose touch of society. We forget the art of actually having a conversation, as we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think very valid. So, Francesca, would you like to add to what, would you want to add over you, please?
Well, first of all, let me quickly introduce myself, Francesca Canzano Franklin. I've been involved in the wellness industry. It's a passion of mine since the past 30 years. I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner. So everything that I approach and the way that I look at things, for me, is more like the inside out wellness and well-being. So what John was saying, vitally important. I think Australians set in the bar high, and I hope European countries, Asian countries, everyone will somehow follow through. I myself have young children. I have a 7-year-old and a teenager, and I can tell you it's a daily battle. However, I must say, I'm a strong believer in balance. Everything should be out of the yin and the yang, finding that connection, that holistic balance. I think completely taking something away at this stage could be an actual issue. I think personally, education and awareness are so vitally important. And, having days such as a World Digital Detox talking about opening a conversation and having this transparency, these conversations, they're so, so important. From my side, except for being related to the industry, being a mother, having to remind my children every day, let's go out, let's exercise, let's talk about what would you like to do? Let's go climb trees and swim in the oceans versus put the phone down. However, one issue that I can see being based in Hong Kong myself, for example, is that digital has become, it's part of everything. My youngest one, 7 years old, going to school, where are the books? Where is the pen? Where is the paper? Let's bring it back to simplicity versus we should implement ABC. I also lived in London for a very long time. And I remember just before moving to Asia, a lot of my friends were like, what are you going to do with your books? And I was like, I'm going to take all the books with me. And they were like, why? Nowadays, everything's digital. You can have an iPad, you can read on the computer and so on. But what we are creating here right now, Dr. Rekha, thank you. It's vitally important. Australia, yes, let's see what the government will come up with, and let's try and follow through and learn from any possible upcoming mistakes as well. It's a journey at the end of the day.
But Francesca, to add to your point in terms of books, I managed La Roche Hotel School in Shanghai for about 3 years, and Blue Mountains also. And one of the key things there in those days, we're talking 2014 to 2017 and 2018 in the master's program. And what we saw was that people were starting to use ebooks, but actually students didn't like them, because the biggest problem with these ebooks is that from a study perspective, you can't, it's more difficult to make notes, first of all. But also, the book is a physical element that we like to hold on to. And when we're sitting on an airplane, and I started on that journey where you had these Kindle or whatever they're called, these ebooks that you use. Yeah. But I also managed to lose quite a few of them because of putting them into seat pockets in airplanes and then forget about them.
We all do.
So we've all done it probably. But I actually think this is where I think sometimes universities and there's many amazing things with universities that you can do all the online study and stuff like that. But I actually think when I did my master's, and that's a few weeks ago in my life, it was a hybrid model. You were actually sent the books. I remember the big packages arrived, and actually you had a proper book. And I still have those books today. And so they're great reference tools. So I think there's also a very big danger in the industry, in the digital industry, that people are just, everything is going. And I'm in the process of doing a master's of sustainability out of in Sydney, and so there it's all online. So that's kind of okay. That hybrid, the model works there because everything is researched by online. But you can go to the physical library if you're sitting in Sydney. But I think there's a great danger, and I think that's exactly where I think the Australian government are trying to distinguish, to say, okay, so we have people who are under 16, but actually what's really important to note is, and Dr. Rekha, you may correct me in this, but it's actually more to do with bullying, and it's actually more to do with the suicides that there's been taking place. And a lot of these suicides, and there's been 2 cases recently across Australia where there has been suicides from young children. And these children have been 12, 13, 14 years old, and these children have been bullied online. And this is part of the reason that there's been this movement to call for this limit on an age limit. And yes, they know it's not an easy thing, but actually it's a message that says to social media companies, okay, we just need to take stock here, and we just need to start limiting things because this is being used as a tool in many, many wrong ways.
You see, John.
And other way around, John, other way around, this has been a faster growing industry where there was no rules and regulation. So
Correct.
whatever content or whatever they were designing, people are accepting that. So till today, if you'll see, there is no restriction on this side, no restriction on Facebook or no any technology platform you'll see.
And that's
So
exactly the
this is a
problem.
right movement. What Australia has started, it is really important.
I think
And
so too.
though everyone is watching that, but I think so. We are working in digital detox area, and we know that is how important that is. Australian government has taken that decision. In fact, I support that actually. No,
I,
and this is
yeah,
what we are
not
going to talk all our places. And in India, there is a one village, they have already implemented for a few hours declaration. Everyone has to switch off the mobile and all, TV, everything. So that is a mandatory what they have already done in the village. So I'm sure that is from India, I will be able to do it. But then with other ambassadors, other countries, so we should be also pursuing this Australian government, decision.
Hopefully,
Francesca, in the schools in Hong Kong, what age do they use the digital aspect? Because you said you have a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old.
can tell you since a very young age.
Yeah.
We left Hong Kong during the pandemic in 2022. My child was 5 years old, and he was going to a Cantonese kindergarten, and everything was digital.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that's what I think the problem is, that we're teaching
That's
them I mean, Dr. Rekha, remember we had the conversation last time when
You're
we
right.
talked about, you go on an airline. And I mean, in the old days, you went on an airline and you were given a coloring book. Well, not me, but you were given well, I
yeah.
probably was, but I was given a coloring book and you sat and you colored and you drew things. Where today, I mean, it's the iPad. So I actually think that's where one is missing that link. And also, I mean, we know the development of the brain, how that works. And I mean, there's so many studies that we now know how that all operates on. So I think, Francesca, that there's a lot of good sides on it, but there's
For
also
sure.
the negative, and
Yeah.
you've got to put a framework in.
You have to. That's why I think balancing is so important.
Yep, totally.
You cannot tell your children you cannot use it. I cannot tell my 7 years old, no, you're not allowed to. What happens when he goes to school? With a
Yep.
teenager, it's a different story. It's all about being accepted. It's a trend in a way. From my side, I always try and teach my children there's a limit to everything. I like to believe that especially the eldest teenagers, they've also just come out of a pandemic. It was that connection in a way. It was a way for them to stay within each other, connecting, seeing each other. I think what we see now, it's total lack of creativity, total lack of physical interaction, people meeting, people going for a coffee, people going for a run, people going for whatever kids these days do at a certain age. You can see there's a level of awkwardness. So much easier to talk on the phone, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and so on. When you see them together, it's almost like they don't know how to be together. And that's why I think this is so important. But like you said, John, since a young age.
And it seems that it seems that the social media industry or the digital industry have got it a bit wrong there, because the teenagers are the ones who do the bad and the good things. And we see that we see that the teenagers are a lot of the ones where the bullying actually comes up. It's actually not the 7-year-olds and the 8 and the 6-year-olds, because they don't really get it. But it's actually that early teenager stage where, they're evil. They can be evil little kids, and they don't think of it, but they do it. And that's the scary thing, because these kids are actually doing this stuff to other kids. And
it is scary. I walk on the MTR, whether I'm taking one of my kids to school or whether I'm going to pick them up, and I see kids with a phone. One of the things that really frustrates me and irks me is posture. You see all
totally.
this since a young age, whether they're sitting on a bus or walking around,
the neck is down.
Completely,
they're constantly stimulated. Stimulation is a problem, and that leads to sleep issues. We have a lot of it. Very interestingly, I think in London, in the church, I think 100 individuals got together and they had to leave away their phones, and they got into creative mode. So I think it's an activity that has to be propelled by us leading the way. If the mom is on the phone and you say you can't do it, I think the child is not going to listen. I think that's where Rekha sets the standard high. So I think it's a movement, that has to happen. And we're very happy to see such ambassadors in such spirit. I think, Rekha ji, we are going in the right direction. I think
Yes, of course, yeah.
We are. And I think with Rekha ji, and we'll put some policies for us also. I think India will make more inroads into workplaces, because people are talking about 18 hours of work is okay, 12 hours of digital work. I think that's where we will begin. So I'm also an ambassador with the workplace, another movement that is happening. So that will propel this movement as well, Rekha ji. So
But
we,
you,
Yes,
but
yes, sure.
but you look at I mean, France, and not exactly, they're probably a case at the moment with what's going on in politics. But if you think of some years ago, they actually put in the law, and the same law now applies actually in Australia and in a lot of European countries, that you are not allowed to contact somebody after a certain amount of work time. And I think, that's exactly what many countries have to start doing, because that's where the mental health comes from. And
Right.
you are asking people to at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock pick up this phone, gone home and have dinner and try and have a conversation. And so that's exactly what we then have. And the art of having a dinner conversation has actually been totally lost. And it's one of my things that we have always done in the family, and I've got it from when I was a child in my family. You would always sit at the dinner table and you would always have a conversation.
yeah.
But that art form has been totally lost in many families, because the kids are on the phone or people are off other places, which I think is part of where we have the problem with the whole digitalization, is we've lost that art of being able to sit down and actually talk.
Indeed. Indeed. We very often talk about wellness, but wellness starts at home.
Totally.
Wellness
Well-being.
is around you. I completely agree with you. We have the same rule at home. I'm Italian, so I grew up with a typical
Oh, yeah,
Italian.
yeah.
We sit down and you have to set the
Totally.
table.
Yes.
And my kids are always trying, Mommy, can I have this? Can I have that? No. I must say, though, we're only human. We don't have the perfection going on. Going to restaurants sometimes, if it's noisy, or sometimes I'm having a meeting, yes, I will be the parent that unfortunately will pass the phone on, but with limitations, because we also have to accept that we cannot be completely without it. But we're definitely going in the right direction, just by sitting and having these conversations.
Full credit to you, Dr. Rekha, for pushing the agenda. And I think the more we talk about it, the more the brain and the countries will start listening.
For sure, definitely.
So our digital detox journeys, no, all of us must be leading. So, like, do you have like Frank? Do you have like a to-do list? Like, you're consciously doing something, and is there like a few takeaways for all of us from your balance that you talk about, the digital detox part of it?
Well, personally, within my company, for example, within myself, I travel a lot for my business, but I have a rule with my teams. Weekends are sacred. No matter where we are based, unless, if there is a meeting, a seminar or something like this, it means spend time with your families, with your partner, with your dog. So it's something that I've implemented straight after the pandemic. Something like you can work from home, but just switch off. For me, like you were saying, it's the art of communication, the art of getting together. It's also the art of slowing down. Slowing down for me, it means take the phone, put it away, shut down every single item in the Wi-Fi, computers, and so on, and just be. So this is one thing that I tend to pass on as much as I can when I meet people. So this would be for me the digital detox.
I think that's a great takeaway. I think a lot of us should have this as a thing. I think this is a real, a go-to rule for digital detox. Thank you for sharing that.
Awesome.
So 10 December is around the corner now, and all the ambassadors has been putting their thought process. And of course, this year, World Digital Detox Day mission has reached to 70 countries through all these respective ambassadors. They have put a lot of efforts to take this mission ahead. And we can see that so many pre-celebrations has already started, like Bhutan, country like Bhutan, India, other
Amazing
places
job he's
also.
done.
And yeah, amazing job is done by the our one of the ambassador, Ram Chatterjee. So there are a lot of actions are happening by the ambassadors, and as we believe that this is not the one-day celebration. 360 days we need this cause to be like helping people and talking and creating the awareness. So 10 December of course makes a lot of difference, and all the experts has come together. So, behalf of the World Digital Detox Day, as a foundation, we are thankful to each and every ambassador for taking this mission ahead, and taking the ownership of the mission is very important, which all the ambassador has taken. So, this was my actually wish. This should not be recognized as that, like Dr. Rekha Chaudhari's mission, or she started. I happen to be the one of the founder, but then I believe that it's everyone effort. So this is what I'm seeing, and I'm so happy about that. So we all of us are thanking to each other for taking this mission ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you for leading the race,
Thank you.
the
thank
movement.
you. Global namaste.
Global namaste. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Francis. Pleasure.
Lovely chatting.
It's been
My
great being here. Thank you to everybody.